April 12th, 2023. This is the S&P 500 E-Futures Mini 2000 tick chart on the Thinkorswim platform. This is how things look today. Just go down in the descriptions below and you can see where I thought I saw the setups, or all the setups I could find, as well as where I took all my trades. There are only two pieces of economic data that came out today, which was right here around 5:30 Pacific Standard Time, which is CPI numbers or the inflation numbers. And then also right around 11 o'clock Pacific Standard Time was the FOMC meeting minutes from March, which was kind of like everybody already knew what happened, but it was just more added some color. So this is how I drew up my charts today. I took a grand total of 10 trades. I definitely overtraded today. I had 5 winners and 5 losers. And I'm just going to go clear this up a bit. Right here, I was doing pretty well. And I think right after about like 9 o'clock, I got sloppy. I just sat, waited, and then I just started taking trades that I shouldn't have. There's a few no reason trades or stupid trades, things that I think I was trying to will the market to do something for me, and I just didn't want to be wrong. So these last 5 trades, probably 4 or 5 trades, probably shouldn't have happened. And overall, the trading structure looks like it was in the pre-market in the trading range. There's a pre-market low and the pre-market high. Prices stayed there most of the time, but then it broke out. And then I did try to see if I found a descending trend channel here, as well as a few up channels and some smaller trading ranges. So I'm going to go through this as fast as I can because I don't want this to be longer than it has to. So this is a pre-market. I don't trade the pre-market. Ignore these yellow arrows. They're just me drawing kind of like measured moves, just so in real time, it's easier to understand because a lot of this stuff isn't drawn yet. But as you draw it, you kind of ignore the stuff, or you don't pay as much attention to the stuff that happened previously unless it's relevant. So it looks messy here, but for me in real time, it makes sense. So I did see this descending channel, kind of drew it. So this one doesn't exist yet, so I'll just go ahead and make him dashed for now. And also, this one doesn't exist yet, so I'll go ahead and make him dashed. So the first setup I saw was prices are coming down. It makes a new low, first entry short, second entry short, there's nothing there, but it's starting to go into this trading range. And I thought a pretty good entry here because right at this point, you're pretty sure, or I was pretty sure I was in a trading range. So then the first possible trade, but I didn't take it, was right here as a new low, first entry short, second entry short. This is a pretty good signal bar. It's off the top of the range. It's also going with trend at the moment, and there's enough room to the other side. I didn't take that trade though, unfortunately. Then prices continue moving down. So now I start playing with the idea that there might be a trend channel here because I have 2 touches and I'm looking for a third one. So I drew this guy and I just kind of arbitrarily put the bottom right here. This guy has played out because it's already gone through. And then now I think there might be a potential measured move from here down to here, which is the low here. And then I just drew this guy starting from here down to thinking it might come down and touch there. Prices continue moving down. Also today, I just want to note that there was a lot more volatility, a lot more volume than the last few, well, probably last couple of weeks. So it was refreshing to see more candles printed. But I think since I had a frustrating several days of not getting very many trades, I probably overdid it today. Lost my bearing and overtraded, took stupid trades. But you'll see those in a bit. Prices continue moving down. Prices start going up. And so now I have a potential third confirmation here. I saw this as a new low here, first entry short, second entry short. I thought, the second entry short was probably a pretty good setup because it's, 2 legs up, maybe bouncing off the top of this channel. The signal bar is, I guess it's okay. It's a little neutral and that there's enough room to the EMA as well as potentially back down to the bottom. But I didn't take this trade because I just wasn't super sure on it. I just thought, well, why don't you wait for a confirmation like the lower high? So lo and behold, the lower high shows up. So it's the first entry short, second entry short, both on the visual and also on the bigger one. Also, it's confirming that this trend channel is going down. It's confirming at least this top is resistance. So I went ahead and took this trade. Signal bar is good. It closed right at the EMA. It'd be better if it closed slightly below, but it's good enough for me. It also made a higher excuse me, closed right to EMA. I think the channel is valid, so I took it on the engulfing on the next one right here. I took it right here, and then I was able to get it. It comes all the way down, and immediately I see like another setup, potentially a second entry long. So it's a new high here, first entry long, second entry long. Now the signal bar here is kind of neutral. This is the signal bar, and this is where it confirms the second entry long. And the trigger bar is pretty good, but it's also below the EMA. It also made a high, like, excuse me, it made a higher low of the second entry short because it was like first entry long, second entry long. This is potentially a higher low, and it came down. And here it's going counter trend. It's going to run into here. So I wasn't too keen on taking this as a long entry. So I just kind of decided to see if there was a confirmation setup. I don't quite get a confirmation setup. You could say this is kind of like a higher, a higher low, but at the time, it's the first break of this channel. I saw the higher low, but I just didn't think it was good enough. Comes back, then I do see a higher low here because, this is actually one tick below. So technically this is the higher low, but I also said, this could just be grouped as one because on different time frames, different charts, this low that was made here could have actually been collected on this guy. So I was a little sketched. I'm not sure about it. Decided to just wait. But when this higher low came up, I thought this was a possible trade. It didn't come back and touch the EMA, but it's very close. And I thought close is close enough. It's a good signal bar. And then the recent price action have been making higher lows because these lows are all higher and higher highs. So this is like a decent trade to have taken. Unfortunately, I didn't take the trade. I just kind of saw it and it just kind of whipped by me. Prices continue moving up. It goes into this channel, which I drew. Falls into this. This trading range doesn't exist yet, so I'll just kind of make it dash for now. Comes back down, bounces up, and now I think there is a trading range. So I go ahead and not only do I draw this trading range, I start to believe that there might be a bigger channel to work with, but I don't have this yet. I mean, I still don't believe in this yet, so I just left that. It's still dash and doesn't exist yet. Prices continue chopping sideways, breaks out below, comes back up. Also, I want to point out that this measure move was completed, came down to here, drew this one, came down and completed it right to the tick, and it's moving back up. So I'm thinking, and maybe it might be in this larger trading range, and it might be kind of chopping back and forth, potentially moving back up, but I don't know that yet. Prices continue moving down. Here, then I see these two touches, so that's where I actually start drawing this larger trend channel going down. But I'm not going to use it for any trades just yet, because even though it touched 3 times, technically, I don't have that much weight on it. And then I wasn't sure where the bottom was, so I kind of drew it and touched it down here. Originally, I had it up here and it cut through these guys, which I didn't like, so I drew it down here just to encapsulate and capture all the price action. Prices continue moving down. I draw this channel to kind of capture it. Breaks up, continues, it's falling into this channel now, or the trading range. And what I saw here was a failed second entry short, because I saw this is a new low. Even technically this is the lowest low, but it made a new low here, which is lower than this guy. New low, first entry short, second entry short. And when this formed, I thought, okay, there's a second entry short here. The setup is, it's closed above the EMA. Let me just zoom in a little bit. Closed above the EMA. It's a pretty good. So actually, it didn't fail yet. It's a second entry short. This is what I saw. So I saw this. It closed above the EMA. It's a pretty good bullish bar. And I thought, okay, maybe I'm going to take a trade. I didn't know that this was in a trading range at this point. I just had this as support down here, and I didn't have this drawn as resistance yet. So I didn't think about it till after the fact, and then this next trade takes me out. So my stop was down here, right down here, and lo and behold, it goes one tick and just goes ahead and takes me out, which is kind of sucky. But if it didn't take me out on this candle, it definitely would have taken me out here. And then now I for sure see this trading range, and I have one green trade, and this is my second trade, which is a red. Prices continue moving down. And then I do see this failed second entry long, because I counted this as one big leg. Technically, it's the first entry long here and the second entry long right here. But I actually counted this as one big leg, So this is first entry long, first break of this shortened trend channel, comes down, and now it's a second attempt to go up higher. So this is a second entry long that failed. Now I will say that this is aggressive because it's the break of this shortened trend channel. It tried to make two pushes up, but it's a little bit far from the EMA. And I thought there's enough room to the low, thinking that this could be on this larger trading range right here from the pre-market high and low. I was thinking this could be a failed breakout, but then it could pull back and continue downwards to go in line with the tendency and the move of the bearish price action. So thinking that, it is aggressive to just assume that. So when this happened, I went ahead and like put my order right here when this candle closed, hoping it'd come back and get me. It does pick me up here, and then it does let me have a green trade. Goes down, chops around. And so this is the first, I guess I would call this a hunch trade. So what I saw here was prices were all respecting this 4130 line, but they're all bouncing up. And I saw the overall trend is coming down. I'm thinking it's going to come down and touch here. And also it wants to make a new low of this guy. So technically it did make a new low, depending how you drew it here, 1, 2, 3 times. And I'm thinking, I think it's going to break through. Now this, in hindsight, wasn't the best idea because even though I saw multiple tests, it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to make break lower. But I did see lower highs. And so all this added together, which isn't really technically following the rules, I decided to take a short. And because I was thinking maybe long traders would have been having their stops one tick below. So that's where I put my entry. I was able to get in and also got a runner. But I, in hindsight, think that, this was probably a risky trade. I shouldn't have actually taken this because this kind of feels like a no reason trade. I feel like I was also selling at the lows currently, which is right here, which I didn't know was going to go lower. Also, there wasn't any indication that anybody took a long here. I mean, sure there were, but why would most people take a long here with a stop down here? There wasn't really any clean setup previously. So I think I definitely was lucky on this trade and just kind of knock on wood, but I shouldn't take these type of trades because this is selling at the low. It turned out it worked, because context-wise, I was just lucky. But just kind of making sure I keep that in mind that, hey, I was lucky on that trade. Prices continue moving up. This is where I take my fifth trade. So I see a new low here, first entry short, second entry short. Now, I actually thought this trade was pretty good. I wouldn't say it's perfect, but in my mind, I'll research it later and watch other YouTubers that are more experienced than me. But I thought this was a decent trade. The reason being is because the EMA was holding. The signal bar is kind of like a double top, but it's also, this bar is lower. This bar is lower than this. So it's like it tried to push down, but it couldn't even get past this guy. The setup is a second entry short failure set up above the EMA. And so I thought, the sellers are probably running out of steam. And this is the first break of this trend line, this smaller trend line here. So broke out, made one push. Maybe it's going to make a second push, even though it may be extreme already. But I kind of just like this setup. And I wasn't sure this was valid, but I would give any credibility thinking it was valid. And I think it made this measure move up one. And I'm thinking the second leg here on the bigger global view, it might want to come up to touch here. So I thought it was worth taking a risk. Plus the signal bars are really small. So the risk was pretty small, keeping my stop right down here. So it turned out to work pretty well. I was also able to get a runner off of this guy. So that, I don't know if it follows the rules completely, but for me, I just felt like I saw it and I kind of thought that it looked like it would be a good viable trade. So then prices continue moving up. I do see this new high, first entry long, second entry long. Now this second entry long is bouncing off the EMA. It's a break of this shortened trend channel here, this bigger one. So try to push up once, potentially try to push up a second time. And the trigger bar, like this is the signal bar, doesn't look that good. And then if you wait, the trigger bar looks pretty good. Now, I didn't take this trade. Reason being is I was concerned that I'm going to hit the recent localized top here, which is at 41.35 roughly, and taking an entry one tick above would be about 41.34. So it's like less than 1 point to try to get out. 1 point or roughly 1 point to get out. And I didn't feel comfortable, even though it's EMA is holding here. But in hindsight, I think because I don't have this trend channel drawn yet because this is when it was made. So it only confirmed like one time. So I need a second confirmation. So if I had known, if it confirmed somewhere down here, then I would have trusted it more. But since it didn't, I just had to leave it alone. So then prices continue moving up. I do see this lower high. And I saw this lower high because what happened was I said it touched once, twice, and now it's touching a third time on this green candle. And you can disregard this lower part of this channel. So I'm thinking this larger downward trend channel is in play. So I don't really see a first entry short, except it comes to right here. But in my mind, I kind of reasoned to myself there could potentially be like one leg up, two legs up, and this could potentially be a lower high if this truly is holding. So I'm thinking the bigger channel is in play, so I'm thinking it's going to move back down. But in hindsight, I don't think it was a good setup. I gave too much weight to this trading trend channel before it was, really, really sure, and it's already kind of up here. So I shouldn't have, in actuality, I think, taken this trade. And there's no real setup after that, and I probably should just skipped it because what happened was I take a short and then it takes me out on this candle. Prices continue moving up. It breaks out of this range, this trend channel, and now it's consolidating. It's pushing back and forth. I don't see any entries that I like. It happened for about an hour, this consolidation. It's for about 9 to 10. But then I do see a failed second entry short here, first new low here, first entry short, second entry short. This failure kind of happens kind of far away though. So I wasn't too keen on it. And it did bounce off the EMA, so it broke down below and then it's trying to come right back up. So, I mean, it didn't bounce off the EMA, excuse me. It closed above the EMA on the trigger bar, but this was my signal bar and I didn't really like the signal bar at the time. So I thought, well, I should just leave this one alone. Luckily, I mean, unfortunately, because it's also hitting the top of this trading range. So when I left it alone, I just wasn't sure what I was seeing because this is kind of what I was seeing at the time. And this is the first breakout. It could come back down and test this bottom. So I just left it alone. Turns out it would have worked, unfortunately, but that's okay. Prices continue chopping left and right. I'm not sure what I'm seeing. And at this point, I've already taken 6 trades and I was kind of up 4 trades and lost 2 trades. So I should have just walked away here. But I think I was watching this and I got anxious. And I saw this. I saw first entry short, second entry short. I thought, okay, this is potentially the top of this trading range. It came down. I'm not going to take this short though, because it's already, by the time this guy closed, unless I took it on the engulfing, it's already like pushed so far. I wasn't sure if it's going to bounce off this midline. So I just left it alone. And then this is where I took what I call a no reason trade, because I thought it's going to bounce off of here and go back to the top. There's no reason for me to think that. And I think I was just sitting in my mind. I have a tendency if I sit too long, I think I start seeing things that aren't there. What happens was this was actually a first entry short, second entry short, and this is a lower high. So when I went long here, I got stopped out. I really should have actually taken a short here because that is a lower high confirming below the EMA, cuts below through the midline and continues down to the bottom. So my first hunch of what this was going to do was correct. There's no reason to take this trade. So stupid me. Prices continue moving down, and this is where now if you look at the timestamp here, this is only about 6 minutes from this trade. And as this was coming down, it's getting close to this bottom of the trading range formed by the pre-market highs and lows. Now, I got it in my head, which is no reason, that I'm thinking it came down so harsh, it's going to bounce. And that's just pretty much the only reason I took this trade. I just thought it was going to bounce, which is foolish. There's no reason to think that. So I was also probably picking the bottom, which is, again, foolish. So as expected, it takes me out. There's another red trade, one red trade, another red trade. So at this point, I really should have walked away. But, I get slightly triggered and I'm almost trading on tilt because I'm thinking I need to get these things back. So I do see a new low here, first entry short. I see this and I'm thinking, is this potentially a second entry short? That's a pretty good signal bar. It's kind of far from the EMA, so it's risky. And it's the first break of the shortened trend channel. So it wants to come back and test this low. So I went ahead and just jumped on this trade without, considering that it's kind of far from the EMA. It's definitely aggressive and it works out for me. Now, in hindsight, I don't think I should have done that, but I was feeling emotional after this because this is only 6 minutes apart. Then from this no reason trade to this trade was only 5 minutes. So in a span of about 30 minutes, I took three trades. And to argue that there are three good setups is hard, especially at this time of day. So I was lucky on this one again. Then prices continue chopping left and right. It comes up to the EMA. I see this new low, first entry short, second entry short. Now the second entry short, I thought this is actually probably a pretty good trade because this is a signal bar that closed below the EMA. Things are bearish. There's enough room to get back down to the bottom of this trading range. Now this trading range I actually had up here at one time, but then later I dragged it down to there. And I thought, okay, I'm not going to take that trade though. Why? I always want a confirmation. Lo and behold, a confirmation is provided to me on a silver platter. So this is a good signal bar. It definitely closed below the EMA. It's very bearish, and there's enough room to make it back down to the bottom. But I didn't take that. Why? I think I was just I just wasn't I think I was just didn't believe it, or I was just too gun shy or something. But that was a trade that I should have taken. Prices continue moving down. Prices come up, chops around in this trading range. And here, this is where I take my last trade, which was a losing trade. I just kind of moved it a little bit further. I saw this new high, first entry long, second entry long. This second entry long is not a good signal bar, and it's too bearish for a signal bar. This is a signal bar, excuse me. This signal bar isn't very good because now it breaks above and it confirms this second entry long, but doesn't mean it's a high probability trade. On top of that, it's running right into the EMA. And if I waited a little bit longer, I would have seen a potential fail second entry long because I thought at the time at the bottom of this trading range, so I'm clearly buying the bottom. Why wouldn't I do that? You want to buy the bottom and then sell at the top. But if you look at the overall context, things have been pretty bearish and it's consolidating and might make another leg down. But I didn't think about that at the time. I just thought, well, it's kind of bouncing off the bottom. It's even if I had this slightly lower at one time, I'm thinking it might be a failed breakout. It's going to move right back to the top side. But there's no reason to think that. And I just jumped in early, which kind of made me have my last and final losing trade. And it did form a failed second entry long right here. But I don't know. I would have taken that, if all things were going well. I'm not sure I would have taken this either because, just a first entry long. This is a very, very weak looking second entry long. So this could have just been considered one big move, one leg down and one leg up. So it could have just been a first entry long. In any case, I took it because I just was looking at the trees for the forest and I lost. So prices continue moving down and it just kind of chops around and goes into the close. So it was definitely very interesting today because for the last several days, I had taken very few trades. Then today, I suddenly bust out 10 and definitely half of them were losing trades. I'm walking away red today, but a few of the trades had runners, so I'm just slightly red, which is okay. But better takeaway is I just need to go back, hunker down, review my rules, kind of review the trades again, and realize when I'm getting emotional because these ones marked as X are trades that shouldn't have happened. There's no setups, no reason. There's just me willing the market to do something. Tomorrow there's going to be core PPI, producer price index, as well as unemployment claims. So I imagine there's going to be some volatility as well. And then again on Friday, there's going to be core retail sales, and I think probably consumer sentiment. So next couple of days we'll probably have more volatility, which just means I got to be more careful, be more judicious. So hopefully that was helpful.